Hey, welcome everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Driven by Design. The one show, maybe the only show, that talks about all the things that drive us today and to keep us going even in tough times, with the man who seems to always keep going, Brian Thompson.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really glad you guys are here today for a very special show. Today, Driven by Design is a show for our followers that features the future inspiration design, typically through an automotive lens. Me being a car designer, um, Paul having a background in automotive, we talk about the future of car design through a lens of automotive perspective. Today, we're going to shift gears, no pun intended, a little bit to talk about always looking forward, trying to give back. And today is about two projects. In my career, I've always tried to get to a point where I can give something back. Last year, we talked about the LGBT Design Scholarship I created in collaboration with College for Creative Studies in Detroit. That's now been awarded, and it is a scholarship that is starting to give monies to LGBT students who want to go to very expensive school like CCS to become a designer. This stuff is really important to me, not only as I get older, but these are personal issues that I think people like me can benefit if you just take a minute to stop and give back. And so today, what I want to talk about is a new project called Shine. And Shine, in the broader sense of where we're living, is allowing people to shine their light, helping people to shine their light through dark times. Specifically, Shine is a series of portraits of gay and lesbian men and women who have been through domestic violent relationships, such as myself. And the portraits focus on the light that is bright within all of us that can be dimmed from a very specific type of physical and emotional abuse, but can never be put out. And so the program is a collaboration between the College for Creative Studies in Detroit, again, where I'm pairing student photographers with professional photographers, and those two entities are shooting portraits of people's light, showing their soul, showing their strength after they've come out of domestic violent relationships. And what I like about the way we're setting it up is that it will culminate in a gallery show where the student work gets to show right with the professional work, and the students get exposure to the pros, and the pros get inspiration from mentoring and working with the students. And so I'm very excited to see this start to grow.
Well, I tell you what, you couldn't pick a better time to be talking about shining. We live in such dark times, I'm sorry to say. We're going into the dark part of the year when you and I both lived in Detroit. It gets physically dark back there for months on end and
Oh my
gloomy and
gosh.
everything. We're
Just
going
dark.
through a potential second wave, seriously, in the coronavirus that could be a dark winter for many. We're going through what we hope is not a dark political election here with all sorts of disagreements and disputes. We live in times where we're always being talked about how dark things are looking ahead, and yet you're constantly trying to focus on the light. And I think of what you do even in your own work. You don't seem to focus on dark designs as much as you do on light and bright designs. Am I right?
I think, yeah, I try to. I'm Tom Matano, my mentor in the car industry, Mr. Mazda Miata himself,
Yeah.
always said if your job is to create a tiny bit of the future or the world we live in, why not make a happy one? What's the
Yeah.
point of making an apocalyptic future if you get
Right.
to contribute? So that does guide me in the work. And it is what's interesting about 2020, I have found, is that there has been a lot of unrest and a lot of ambiguity and a lot of fear and a lot of disruption
Hmm.
uh, in both positive and negative. And in the negative, in the darkness, I've found that there's been these little beautiful moments
Hmm.
to stop and say, wait, do I want to be a part of this noise
Hmm.
that I'm hearing, or do I want to contribute something that's luminous?
Hmm.
And for me personally, to have exited a violent relationship that left me with scars and
Oh,
really dimmed my light,
yeah.
to take that pain and to detach from it and keep the empathy for humanity, the kind of person that would hit you, but to detach from that empathy and take that pain and make something beautiful out of it is what I really want to do. And what I'm finding, the surprise part is that it's unfolding. I feel like I'm just bobbing and weaving, and like it's just happening. I thought the hard part would be to get content.
Hmm.
That's been the easiest part.
Yeah.
What I'm learning is that so many people go through violent relationships and they never talk about it. And just by scratching the surface, by just telling a little bit of my story, the amount of people that have reached out to say they would like to be a part of this, um, it makes me really emotional. It really
Hmm.
touches a place deep to hear that, like, not only is it uh, going to be not only are the photos that are developing beautiful, but what I'm learning is that the healing that happens by sharing is that you disassociate it from a personal conflict between two people, and you
Hmm.
realize that physical violence is a brush with mental illness.
Hmm.
And anybody who's been in these relationships has the same stories. And that's the part that's blowing my mind, is that their experiences are my experience. And
Hmm.
by talking about it, by not being afraid to talk about it, especially in LGBT relationships, where I think it is pushed down, because if it's two
I never
men,
hear about it talked in that realm. I hear it talked about in terms of, parents abusing, their fathers abusing their daughters or their sons. I hear about it, husbands abusing their wives. I don't hear about it in.
well, and I think there are many resources for straight relationships, and for me, being an LGBT member, I want to do the things that I can understand,
Mhm.
and touch spaces that maybe are not as dealt with as much. And what I have found is that, for example, if it's two men, people can often say, "Oh, that's just guys fighting," and it's like, no, there's a real difference between a disagreement and somebody that hits you
Yeah, yeah,
and justifies the violent.
right,
Or I've heard many of the people have said, I've kept the story inside because I was afraid to tell the story, because I don't want to hurt the person that hurt me.
right.
And that has been remarkable to hear how many people have said that. And so what I have seen coming out of the photos is that each photo is a collaboration with the model and the photographer. So I'm actually not really involved too much, because I don't want to overstep my
Right,
vision. I
right.
want to allow it to grow. But each photo, I'm seeing a story emerge of inner beauty. One
Give us an
person who's,
example. Give us
and a good example would be a person who was a dancer, a really established professional dancer, dances for Katy Perry, Lady Gaga.
mhm.
He was thrown through a into a glass case, and what he wanted to communicate.
Ooh,
This is years ago in a
right.
violent relationship that he's long grown from. But what he wanted to communicate was that he passed through that glass unharmed, stronger, and so the motion of his picture communicates this liberation and light as he moved through the glass. And
Like a real breakthrough. What was could have broken him allowed him to break through.
exactly. And it was when I saw the photo come in, I it just stopped me dead in my tracks. And I what I was touched by was the not only the story and the freedom, but the
A
but that it
strange
was,
choice of words for you to say stopped me dead in my
yeah.
tracks.
Well, it
All
did.
of
My
those
heart
things.
stopped
Yeah,
for a minute,
right.
and then I just,
But it could
yeah,
have stopped him dead,
yes.
literally, in his track of life, in his track where he was going. Yeah, right,
And he passed through. And what touched me when my heart started up again, I
right.
was touched by the beauty of the creativity that the photographer and the model uh, created something so beautiful out of this pain. And at this point, there's about 10 portraits happening, and I'm coordinating right now, and each one has a different way to tell this story. Some are very glam, like there's one, there's a photographer who's shooting a woman who has cuts on her arms, and the way they're doing it is like she's like Wonder Woman with her invincibility bracelets, and it's just,
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's so powerful, it's like just so meaningful. And
Yeah.
so
What you see is scars that was meant to kill me or suppress me or keep me down is not my bondage, it's my free. Because that's the other thing that always struck me about Wonder Woman. In some sense, it's almost like that could be seen as her chains, her bound,
Hmm.
the way she holds it in the bracelets, but she does it in a liberating way. That this isn't going to hold me back. This is going to propel me forward here.
Yeah, exactly. And in the 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 broader scope of this time that we're in, to me, is a time that has light and darkness, but and people, I think, in general, in a broader scope, can be held in these kind of chains of fear right now,
Yeah.
or find moments to shine. And that's what I want to do. That's why the Instagram account for it, where the photos are starting to appear, is called To Shine Through,
Just look what
because
that
that's what you
imagery
do.
does to me. Just show that X again onto people on a thing there. That can
Hmm.
either be stay away,
Hmm. Right.
vampire,
Defense.
get away.
Hmm.
It can either be I'm bound and I'm
Right.
not free, or in Wonder Woman's peculiar way, she only gets power when she touches those two
It's the
together.
power of it, right? Like she's
Yeah,
kind of up like that. Yeah.
she's got to hold those two. It's what
Yeah.
the symbol that most have for being bound is what frees her, her ability
Yes.
to break through that. I never thought of that till right now, but it's
Well,
just what I look at it. Yeah.
and that's what I love about this project, is that, like, something that's obviously very personal to me, is having a broader effect as it grows. Because in my mind, I have a vision of what I'd want to communicate personally, but what I'm finding that where people are taking it, is somewhere I never would have imagined. And that's what I love, is the
Yes.
unboundless
So
creativity.
let's talk about that for a
Yep.
second, because I think that runs through your work, and I think that runs through the design field in general and photography in general, in that you start off with a picture in your mind. This is going to be, we talked about the Honda. What was the little square one they made that they thought would appeal to young kids, and instead it appealed to
The
old
element.
people, like the Element, exactly. Because we saw something in it that the designers didn't see. And the people who it was intended for, the young kids to put their surfboards in, didn't see it and didn't react to it at all. You seem to find way, and you like to find ways in the unexpected, the surprise, the thing I
Yeah.
didn't
I mean, I,
see that comes out of you create something and it's like, wow, this has a whole different life and a whole different appeal to it here.
well, I can tell you this much. My grandma, who did a lot of my raising of me, she always said to me, Brian, we are not the human beings that we live inside of. Okay. We are the love that lives inside them eternally. And, what that meant
Wow.
to me, because I thought about it all my life,
Say it again.
you know.
Yeah, you said I got to wrap my head around this one here.
So she said, we're not the human beings that we live inside of. We are the love that lives inside them eternal. And what that means is, it doesn't matter whether you believe in Jesus or Buddha or any sort of religion. It just
Right.
means that we, in our essence, are love, and we are light, and we shine. And
Yeah.
what I took away from that is that someone can dim your light, they can make you feel dim, but
Mhm.
they can't put it out. They never put it out. And what
Yeah.
I want, whether it's my design work, the work that I create for, clients, or art, it's, I always want to show that the human spirit is in you. You can't extinguish it.
Resilient, indomitable. The light doesn't go out, and yet many people we've seen, pictures of children in Africa starving. In my own life, I adopted a little girl from Mexico who'd been abused,
Oh,
and all of this.
oh.
You just look at them and you think there's nothing there, but you look at their eyes and there's still a spark, and it doesn't take much to to feed that spark and turn it into a fire to bring it back out. It can dim. There's no question about it. Bad things can happen to people and that light in their eye can start to go out. But I don't think unless,
I believe it doesn't. I believe it's. I believe
yeah,
it's. I believe it's the love eternal. That,
yeah,
like, here, let me
maybe it
just,
is.
because she's right here. I got to.
Maybe it is.
So this little lady right here, doing her best to hold me. You can
Look
see
at
that
that.
right
Look at
there.
that
That's
boy.
Mama Lou, and she's the one that taught me it's the eternal light. And so, and I think what I love about this project, as we wrap up here, is that in this time where it can feel like a dark time, uh, people will always shine through. And I think, if it's personal abuse or physical or violent abuse, what I'm learning is that people are bright enough and beautiful enough to shine through it. And so the To Shine Through uh, series is showcasing that.
Hmm. Well, where do we find out more about it, and how will we see this when it comes out?
So right now, Shine has an Instagram account that is To Shine Through. That's T-O, Shine Through, Through,
Right,
To Shine Through.
right.
That's on Instagram. It connects there to the College for Creative Studies website. And as it grows, there will be more updates about where we're going to have the gallery. What I think is fascinating is in this time of COVID, we are preparing for a gallery show in a period that we don't yet understand what it will look like.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
best way to do that is to contribute the content now and allow it to grow. So what you'll see there right now are the first few portraits, and then as it grows, we just put out the call for entries for the students today. So now
Okay.
the student work will start to show up.
Any particular projected time frame for this? When will the first go out? How often will it be updated? How long should we expect this to go on for? I don't know. Any of that? All that to be determined?
Well, those are great questions. It's happening now. What I'm noticing is it's growing. My dream is that it doesn't ever stop growing. Is that that this becomes a resource for people to take the taboo off of talking about this, to let it out, and then allow your light to shine brighter.
Through, right.
As we close up, another thing Mama Lou always said is, if you shine your light, it helps other people shine theirs.
Yeah.
And that's really
It
important.
reflects off others. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it helps inspire it. Well, thank you for inspiring us, not just in the work you do, in the designs, the positive way you design cars and the positive way you look at things, but in your give back approach to try and help others find the light within them and shine it out to them. Don't dim it. Don't darken it. Bring it forth here. Look forward to seeing it.
I love doing this show with you, and I'm always grateful to you for giving us this platform to do it. So, Paul, this is good stuff.
All right. Well, let's one more time. Instagram is
To Shine Through.
Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, octalkradio.net.